Thank you so much, Pastor Paul. So for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Gio. Plenty of you guys do know me. Hi, Mom. Um, Plenty of you guys do know me, but don't know my testimony. Like Pastor Paul said, I've been coming to this church for a while now, 2019 to be specific. But prior to that, I was in high school. And when I was in high school, I knew of Jesus. I just didn't know Jesus, right? So I was a high school boy doing high school boy things, seeking high school boy things. And one of the hardest part about telling your testimony, I believe, is telling who you were before you encountered Christ, right? And who I was before I encountered Christ wasn't necessarily a bad person, but how many of you guys know that just because something is good doesn't mean it's God? And I feel like my life represented that when I was in high school. My senior year, like I said, I was just pleasing my flesh. I was so bombarded of the satisfaction of my sin. I just continuously just like did anything to please my flesh and what I wanted. But deep down, while I was continuously just pleasing my flesh, I felt a conviction that lied within my heart. And I thought to myself, like, I want to do the things I want to do without this conviction. So I think the easiest way to do that is just denounce Christ from my life, right? But I've had prayer warriors in my life since I was born. My grandma, my mom, my family, thank God. But I was in such a season where I wasn't surrounded by Christ-like individuals. So I thought it would be easier to disassociate myself from Christ, to do the things I wanted to. But funny enough, God will put people in your life for a reason and for just to bring you where he wants you to be. And senior year, my math teacher, Mr. Coley, he was actually a pastor. So I went up to Mr. Coley. I was like, hey, Mr. Coley, I'm losing my faith. What do you suggest I do? And he said, seek the truth. I know now he said that because when you really do seek wholeheartedly, you will come to the truth. So I started seeking. I went to all the wrong places. I studied Islam. Nothing really sparked my heart. I studied Buddhism, atheism. Nothing really grasped me, right? After high school, me and my mom and my little sister, we would go to Target and we'd go to Walmart, and we just kept on passing Eastgate. Kept on passing Eastgate. And one day I was like, let's go in. I know now that was the Spirit tugging me to come into this church, come into this home. So we did. And I met many of you guys, and many of you guys became friends, and many of you guys became families. Family who poured into me, family who prayed over me, not just me, but my family, in times of need and in times of celebration, and I thank you guys for that. But most importantly, I found out who God was in this church. It was a tug of the Holy Spirit that brought me here. And within that season, I found myself falling in love with who God is. And he went from a God of the Bible to the God of my life, right? And I don't have a flashy testimony about how God saved me from addiction or from like anything else. But instead, my testimony is a reflection of a parable that Jesus once spoke. A parable about how his son went off to go do the things that he wanted to do and found himself in the mess that he made, only to say, how much better will it be if I just ran back to my father's house? Except the son knew what he was running back to. I should say, I didn't. But what I found was a love that was so unconditional. What I found was a grace that surpasses my understanding. What I found was a mercy that I couldn't fathom. What I found was favor over this covenant I had with the Lord. What I found was community. What I found was family. What I found was that feel that I needed from my heart. The things I was trying to run to the Lord, the world for, that I found within you guys, that I found within the church. And I'm not perfect, but I am progressing, and I think that's the goal. And now, despite what platform I'm standing on, if it's you, if it's the stage, if it's in front of the youth, if it's evangelizing in the streets, my life is now a living sacrifice. My life is now a testimony, a testament of how good God's been to me. And that's why I'll continue to preach every time I get. Despite what goes on in the world, despite the hate I get, I'll continue to preach the love that God showed me. I'll continue to preach the grace that he shows me, the favor that he showed not only me, but my family. I'll continue to preach how there's people out there who loves you so much that they just want to bring you to the house of the Lord. And that's my testimony of how I was once lost.